Welcome everyone to New Orleans Home Search with Jewel Bakewell with Crown Jewel Realty, and we come to you the first and third Thursday of every month with something New Orleans and something real estate. So we are approaching the anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, and it is important that we understand the aftermath of that and ways to prevent and to protect our property should something like that happen again. So I thought it would be a great idea to bring Tanisha Evans on. She is with Goosehead Insurance. She is the expert in insurance, and she is here to talk to us about understanding flood insurance. So Tanisha, hi, thank you for coming on.
Hey, thank you for having me, Jewel. It's a pleasure to speak and give knowledge to the community about ways to protect their biggest asset, which is their home, of course.
Exactly. So tell me a little bit about you, Tanisha.
Well, I've been in the insurance industry for 8 years now. Recently, in April of 2021, I became an independent insurance broker. Emphasis on the word broker because being a broker allows me to have several carriers that I can shop for my clients. So I'm able to save you money and time by doing the shopping for you.
That's fantastic because now with this market, it is crazy for buyers. A lot of buyers need to have an insurance quote in order to run their numbers and know exactly how much to expect for a mortgage payment before they write an offer. So with you being able to access multiple companies all with one person, it definitely saves time that the buyer would have to take out and call each of these companies individually.
Absolutely. And that's the point of giving the client the power of choice by having more than one option. And that's always the good benefit about being a broker instead of a captive agent.
Awesome. So congratulations on being a broker.
Thank you.
So I really want to talk about flood insurance and get into it. So what are some things that you feel like as an insurance agent, we as the general public or maybe the average client, what is some information that they wouldn't know about flood insurance that maybe they should?
All right, so the main question a lot of clients ask me is what exactly is flood insurance? And the simplest way to describe what a flood insurance policy is coverage that will insure your home in the event of a natural rising of water. When I say natural rising of water, that can be an array of different incidents. So it can be maybe an overflow of a river or a lake. You can have natural rising of water from heavy prolonged rain. And of course, we're all very familiar with natural rising of water from a hurricane because, again, we've experienced a few hurricanes, but Hurricane Katrina, to be exact, showed us just how the water continues to rise even after the storm is past.
And that's a big point. So I hear people say, oh, I don't need flood insurance. My house is in a no flood zone. So what do you say to that?
That's a good question. And a lot of people do feel like that. But when you relate into flood zones, there's two types of flood zones. There's a high risk flood zone, and then there's a low risk flood zone. Note, I said high and low. I never said no risk. So therefore, the risk is still possible that your home will flood. A good example I give clients is think about a kitchen sponge. We all know a sponge absorbs water, but it only absorbs water to a specific limit. Once the sponge is full, the water begins to spread. And that's the same way flood insurance can affect you. If a home in a high risk flood zone happens to flood, as the water begins to settle, it can spread to a home that is in a low risk flood zone. And again, being in a low risk doesn't eliminate the risk of flood.
And that's a big point. So if you are in a low risk flood zone and your home still floods and you have coverage, what are the steps?
So if you're in a low risk flood zone and you have coverage, which is very highly recommended that you do, because a lot of people don't know that being in a low risk flood zone lets you become rated as a preferred risk when it's time to shop for insurance. So there's a $250,000 limit for dwelling property and a $100,000 limit for personal property that can be insured through the National Flood Insurance Policy. If you are in a preferred risk zone, the highest policy, which are the coverages I just went over, is only about $450 to $500 for the year. So that's a very small investment to make in to protect one of your largest investments, which would be your home.
Yes, that's a big point because my home is in a no flood zone, but I still pay $600 for the year just to make sure that I have it because it can still flood.
Be it for business or pleasure, you can configure UrbanSmartNetwork.com to give you the most reliable social engagement. Think of UrbanSmartNetwork.com as the ultimate social networking headquarters that help you save precious time. Users have the option of creating a business or personal page that allows them to start an e-commerce business without any programming knowledge or marketing experience. Join UrbanSmartNetwork.com now, one of the fastest growing social media platforms.
The entertainment and his team, no sleep, flossy high, and yeah, we made it. The haters keep on hating on the songs that we be making, and I heard they want my soul, Illuminati wanna take it. Two versus the family, MFM, the entertainment and his team, no sleep, flossy high, and yeah, we made it. The haters keep on hating on the songs that we be making, and I heard they want my soul, Illuminati wanna take it.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, because somewhere around the world, that is truly what time it is. I'm Montega Antone Tucker, Tony X, and we've moved our political content, the greatest political content, which is now uncensored, to UrbanSmartNetwork.com. Make sure you tune in 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, only on UrbanSmartNetwork.com.
Only on UrbanSmartNetwork.com.
So what are some other things that the general public should know about flood insurance, but it's not information that's readily available to us?
Well, one of the things that I always emphasize when it comes to flood insurance, a person should understand and know flood insurance is not included on your homeowner's insurance policy. I'm going to say that again. Flood insurance is not included on your homeowner's policy. Your homeowner's policy will cover things as far as a broken pipe and there's water in your home, or a backup of sewage or plumbing, but it will not cover flood. So the big point here is the definition of flood. So to be considered a flood, it has to be a place that is normally dry land, that is incubated with water, and it has to be 2 or more acres of land or 2 or more properties affected by the flood for it to qualify as a flood.
Okay, so if just my house floods, that doesn't count. It would have to be my house, my neighbor's house, and maybe the neighbor beyond them.
Only your house and the neighbor house.
Okay.
Only it's either 2 acres of land, and you can really get away with the 2 acres of land too, because sometimes we all know in New Orleans we're below sea level. So if it's raining heavy, you'll see puddles in different areas.
Right.
That can equal up to 2 acres of land as well.
Okay. So all those qualify as floods. So the first thing I'm getting is defining, was it actually a flood? And those are the ways to determine whether or not this is actually a flood.
Yep.
And then once it's determined that it's actually a flood, do they call you? Who do they call?
Actually, my company backs me with a service team. So I have all licensed service agents available to call. You can even text them or email them to start the claim process.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love texting.
Yep, and the response is really fast with texting. So it's a really great service to have.
Okay, awesome. So how does it work when you're going out for flood insurance? I know that it's mandated through FEMA, but I just recently learned through you that there is private insurance available as well. So can you talk more to that?
Sure. So there's, again, the National Flood Insurance Policy. That is the policy that's backed by FEMA, the government. But then there's also the option of private flood insurance. However, if you have an FHA loan, it is required that your flood insurance coverage comes from a national flood insurance policy. You're not allowed to have a private flood insurance policy if you have an FHA loan. But if you have a conventional loan or investment loan, you have the option to have a private flood insurance policy. And a lot of times the private flood insurance policies come out cheaper than what the national flood insurance policy would be in the event that you're in a high risk flood zone. One of the biggest determination factors of your rate, if you're in a high risk flood zone, would be an elevation certificate.
Yes. So I'm so glad you mentioned that, because a lot of times I work with sellers and we're in the listing appointment and I'm asking, okay, well, I see that your home is in a flood zone. Do you have an elevation certificate? And most of the time they don't. We order an elevation certificate and we find out that they could have saved like $500 or more a year had they have had this elevation certificate. So I definitely want you to touch base on that. What's it with these elevation certificates?
All right. So just like you said, the elevation certificate is the key to getting a solid quote for flood insurance. Without an elevation certificate, the quotes can be as high as $8,000-$9,000 if your home is in a high risk area. So that elevation certificate can not only save $500 a year. I've seen it save $1,000 a year, $2,000 a year compared to the rates that some clients have received through the National Flood Insurance Policy. So the simplest way to get an elevation certificate is, of course, to ask the seller for an elevation certificate. Unfortunately, if the seller does not have an elevation certificate, you are able to purchase an elevation certificate. However, the price range can range anywhere from $300 to $1,200, just depending on the particular surveyor you hire and their fees for inspecting the property and things of that nature. Another good thing to also keep in mind, if you do have to purchase an elevation certificate, the turnaround time for an elevation certificate can take anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks.
Well, I have been on my people because I'm like, I'm gonna need this $250 elevation certificate this week. Oh,
so you have, somewhere where you can get it for $250?
Yeah, I have surveyors. If the surveyors that I work with are not available, I usually actually can call Gilbert Kelly Couture. And sometimes they have the elevation certificates on file. I did one deal. It was a nightmare. Like anything that could go wrong went wrong. So we had an elevation certificate, but for some reason that was all for, it didn't work out. Mm-hmm. So they told me that sometimes there are elevation certificates in the old records down at the city hall. So I went down to the Gretna City Hall and looked on the computer, like the old time monitor computer, went through, and I found the elevation certificate from like 1954 or something. And the quote from that elevation certificate brought it down and it made the deal work. But it was just so random to find it and to learn that sometimes they're there.
Yeah, there are actually, elevation certificate is a public record. So anybody can pull up an elevation certificate. Depending on what county or what parish you're in, is different stipulations. I'm currently waiting on one from Baton Rouge, and it's been 2 days. But certain areas, you can just go on the website and pull it up.
Yeah, so I mean, I found that was cool. I felt like a mystery solver going down and finding it.
Absolutely. And I also do that for my clients sometimes as well. If we're on a hunt, we put all hands in to try to get the best rate for the client.
Awesome. So I know also you mentioned that the flood calendar, not calendar, but map is changing soon. So can we talk more to how the map works and what we kind of think these changes might be? Good.
All right. So FEMA determines what zone a home is in. So the flood, depending on the base flood elevation level of the home and how often a flood has occurred in that area, is how FEMA determines what flood zone your home is located in. Unfortunately, the new federal flood program that will be coming out as soon as October next month of 2021, not much information has been put out about it, but we have been informed that they're doing a new flood program mapping. So you're going to have some clients see a small increase on their flood insurance. Some clients may see a small decrease on their insurance. And then you're going to have some clients that sees a significant increase on their insurance. And that's when you call me, because I have several different carriers and I can shop and see if you're eligible for a private flood insurance and just review all your possible options.
New Orleans Home Search by Crown Jewel Realty allows you to search listings in New Orleans and surrounding areas. There's a filters icon in the upper right-hand corner. It allows you to customize your search to fit all your real estate needs. You can search listings, favorite listings, schedule showings, even run numbers in the mortgage calculator, and locate local schools with high ratings. Most of all, it allows you to connect directly with Crown Jewel Realty agents. Download New Orleans Home Search today.
Urban Smart Studios is a full-service multimedia production company specializing in fast turnaround and excellent attention to detail. With over 25 years' experience as audiovisual experts, our digital designers possess extensive hands-on experience. Why trust your brand with anyone else? Our digital designers are superstars with live streaming solutions, brand development, digital media solutions, videography and photography, marketing campaigns, audiovisual solutions, post-production, and more. Let us help transform your vision into a campaign that will turn heads and, more importantly, make sales. We believe in premium results. Schedule your next project with us today. It's absolutely free. Only on urbansmartstudios.com.
One other thing I kind of wanted to touch base on is the quote process, because a lot of people think, okay, this is my insurance and this is what it has to be. But a lot of people are also on forced insurance through their mortgage companies. So can you speak to how you can help these people who maybe already have a policy in place that they're not happy with? Maybe it's a forced policy through the insurance, through the mortgage company, or something that they've had for years. How can they go about seeing if they're eligible to lower their rate?
Okay, so that's a great question, because unlike any other insurance company, flood insurance has cancellation clauses. You can't just cancel your flood policy midterm. You have to have a reason for canceling the policy if it's midterm. Such reasons that are acceptable if you happen to sell the home, or if you happen to pay off your mortgage, if someone happens to pass away, then you have the right to shop and, reshop and put it into your name. But you unfortunately cannot cancel a flood policy midterm. However, the good thing is you can always get a quote from me at any time. I'll always revisit the quote once it's closer to your time to renew the policy, and I'll be able to shop the market for you and see if there's something better out there for you, so that we can prepare you once renewal time approaches. And a flood quote only takes about 5 minutes. And I also have a really good system where if you are curious to know what flood zone your home is, it takes me about 2 minutes to do a flood zone determination and get it over to you. So if you find that dream home, you fall in love with it, your next question should be, what flood zone is this home in? So that's when you'll text or email me. 2 to 3 minutes later, I can tell you exactly what flood zone your home is.
That's a great resource because, it can make or break a deal.
I've seen it happen before.
Yes. So one last thing, we're going to wrap up soon, but I wanted you to kind of touch base on what are some tips that sellers, we talk a lot about buyers and when they're shopping for quotes, but sellers, okay, I'm selling this home. I'm going to maybe transfer this policy over to the upcoming buyer. What are some steps that a seller maybe should take before they put their house on the market in regards to insurance?
The best advice I can give a seller, especially if they're in a high flood risk zone, if they do not already purchase an elevation certificate. That's going to help with the sale. That's going to make the sale much smoother, go through much faster. Even though you'll be leaving the home, it's still something that is going to help keep the process going for the buyer, for the transfer over from seller to buyer.
Definitely great advice. And a lot of times I'll have for my buyers to assume the seller's current policy if they already have a good policy in place. And that just helps things to run smoother as well.
Absolutely.
So Tanisha, where can you tell our listeners to find you?
Well, again, my name is Tanisha Evans, and you can find me on Facebook under Goosehead Insurance Tanisha Evans, as well as on Instagram. My Instagram name is T_insurance_fairy. I'm sprinkling the insurance knowledge all around the world.
Okay.
And you can always as well just give me a call at 504-541-9011 or shoot me an email at tanisha.evans@goosehead.com.
Tanisha Evans from Goosehead, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate having you. And if anyone has questions about flood insurance, hit Tanisha up. It's definitely something that you have to have. It's not an option. We are now in hurricane season. We've already seen what it did to our beautiful city. And you want to make sure that if we have another disaster, that your assets are protected, that your personal property is included, that we are considering that. Because, if we have to relocate, we all saw how that felt. And it's nice to have a money bag with you.
And that peace of mind of knowing that you don't have to worry, because at the end of the day, you're going to get a check cut and everything's going to be rebuilt.
Yes, definitely. So thank you guys for joining us. If you want to hit myself up or Tanisha up, You can always contact us. You can contact me also on the app. If you haven't downloaded the app yet, please download it. New Orleans Home Search app on your Apple or Google Play device. So thank you guys.
Only on UrbanSmartNetwork.com.